Patch Day comes to Appalachia, fixing some bugs and recreating some others. Trap camp owners are now subject to bounties, and the most damaging bug in Fallout 76 just might be Bethesda. I'm Julien McBain. This is the Julien McBain Show. The Julien McBain Show is brought to you by the Spadewind Raider Group. The Spadewind Raider Group reminds you to stash your junk and wash your hands. Use the blue boxes. They're provided for you. They look like those. The Spadewind Raider Group. We kill you because we care. Okay. So, Patch Day came, and the first thing they did is they fixed the vendor duplication bug that was causing issues, which is good. But now the duplication bug's back on the display cases, and I'm not clear on whether this is a return of this bug or if this is just a consistent bug. But it does mean that you still have a duplication bug out there, and the bug also includes instances of things that don't belong in display cases suddenly being in display cases. Like I saw a picture on, I can't even remember the name of the YouTuber, so I apologize for that. But he showed an image of a power armor frame trying to be in a bobblehead display case. Needless to say, that doesn't work. But it's very reminiscent of Bethesda bug. And so, what's happening is as Bethesda continues to try to improve the game and bring more things in, as is Bethesda's history, I hate to say, okay, good, I'm empty, they have a nasty habit of breaking other things in their game. And I don't think it's necessarily the fault of the developers per se. The developers of Bethesda are very, very skilled. They would not be able to bring us Appalachia the way it's been brought to us if they didn't have the ability. The problem is I think that their development cycles are just too quick. Things get rushed. And when you rush things, mistakes are made. So it's not a lack of skill or talent, it's a lack of time. And I honestly believe that. I honestly believe that Bethesda puts out excellent games. I wouldn't be here in Fallout 76 if I didn't think they did a good job. I think that the Wastelanders DLC made the game worth playing because there were definite issues with the original version of it because of the way that it got presented. I'd also be happier if I could hit something with my pool stick. I mean my spear. But what it comes down to is, they only have so much time in these development cycles. They have to work with what they can work with. This is not necessarily the easiest platform to test. They use the Fallout 4 engine, which has its own issues, but it's an extremely functional engine. It's just a functional engine that has issues. And you have to decide what you're planning on doing in order to make everything work. And so sometimes they balance out the fact that there are going to be bugs. And that's a legitimate form of development, because you take each individual bug in turn, you patch it out, and it creates 3 more bugs. It's just the way it works. That's why the old saying goes, 99 little bugs in the code, 99 little bugs. Take one down, patch it around, 119 little bugs in the code. It's a fact of life. And I'm not even an actual developer. And I know this. So, thank you for the rat away. So, in order for us to enjoy this game, we're going to have to accept that the game is going to be buggy. It's a Bethesda game. My 12-year-old said it really well. I said, this game is really buggy. My son said, well, it was made by Bethesda. It's just the way it is. And it's coming to the point where the Todd Howard-ism is almost just the way we got to think about it. It's not a bug, it's a feature, right? All of the crap that happens in Fallout, it's not a bug, it's a feature. The fall through the world bug, that is a constant issue in certain areas. Not a constant issue, but both Lore Spade and Rincewind have run into it. It is definitely game breaking for the person it happens to. You have to fast travel a pretty good distance to get away from it when you respawn. and you can't get away from it, it just kills you, that's a problem. But at the same time, it's a Bethesda game. We're kind of expecting these problems to happen. And if you look at Skyrim and you look at Fallout 4 and Fallout New Vegas and Fallout 3, don't get me wrong, Fallout New Vegas was the best game ever created in this series and quite possibly, period. But it doesn't mean it didn't have plenty of bugs. Of course it had bugs. I mean, you could get the games crash behind the loading screen every third time you fast traveled. That just kind of came with the territory. So, unfortunately, these are things that we're going to have to live with if this is what we want to do. So, that brings me to kind of the next subject. Or actually, no, let me move to what my final subject or final term was. You know, the biggest bug in the game is probably Bethesda. Hate to say it. You know, Bethesda has created a wonderful product for us to use. That doesn't mean that they get away without criticism. They've absolutely earned the criticism that they're given in this game. Because frankly speaking, for a developer as a AAA developer to release a game in their flagship series, right? When you think of Bethesda, you think Fallout. I mean, yeah, they came out, they have Elder Scrolls, that's another flagship series. But realistically, the flagship series that they have is Fallout. It's definitely not Rage. Rage was basically hub-based Borderlands. Actually, I think Rage preceded Borderlands, so we'll call it hub-based Fallout. And then they couldn't come up with enough original material, so they took the image of Cedric Whittaker, which I'm surprised they managed to get away with. For those of you who don't know who Cedric Whittaker is, look up Airship Isabella. Where is this bastard? Like, I see the light. Can't see where the reports are coming from, though. It's like it's coming out of nowhere. So, I mean, I don't know what else to say on that. Bethesda has issues. We all know Bethesda has issues. It kind of comes with the territory. And whenever you play a Bethesda game, you just accept that there are going to be certain issues. Now this brings me to the real point of this particular episode, and it's kind of a segue from the last one, because this happened, and I about hit the floor. Bethesda has, over time, been reducing the ability for PvPers to actually play PvP. And I don't know what it is. I think it's because there are a lot of PvEers who are complaining because Bethesda included a mechanic where they might be forced into PvP. You know, God forbid there be areas in the game that are designed to be PvP and they accidentally, you know, traipse into them or deliberately traipse into them to do something that's happening in the PvP zone, but they don't want to be bothered with PvP. So now, and what I think is the most egregious game unbalancer, trap camps. If you are the owner of a trap camp and someone falls for your trap, it puts either a 25 or a 50 cap bounty. That's the jury's kind of still out on that, because I've seen Lore Spade with it. I actually saw this happen. Someone I was hanging out in Lore Spade's trap camp, and someone ran into his traps, and it put a 25 cap bounty on him. Just boom. How is that okay? I mean, seriously, you're not obligated to go into someone's camp. You do not have the right to just traipse into someone's camp. You know, in real life, they call that trespassing. So if you traipse into someone's camp and it's a trap camp and you die, that's on you, not on them. They're playing the game and using a legit mechanic. Now, I can see where the justification could be, well, yes, but they're playing evil and therefore evil players deserve bounties. That's why when you pick locked doors or you hack a player's terminals, you get a bounty. There is a certain legitimacy to that. But if that's the case, then they need to make sure that they do something about the fact that now players have a lot less opportunity to play the PvP way. And maybe they did that just because those players who have trap camps are generally PvPers. And if you have a bounty on you, the likelihood that you're going to wind up in PvP is a lot higher. And if that's the case, that's fair enough. But they just kind of did it. Like, it wasn't even in the patch notes. There's no reasoning behind it. Well, I can't say it wasn't in the patch notes. I haven't been able to find the patch notes, if there were patch notes. I'm sure there was somewhere. I'm probably just missing where they were. But to just see that happen blew my mind. It's like, why, Bethesda? Why would you do this? All it does is takes away from a lot of player effort. And then, to make things worse, in an upcoming patch, they've already announced that they're going to do instance camp interiors. Which, since they didn't implement it originally, I'm kind of irritated they're doing it now. Like, or if they had started with instance camp interiors, like they do in some other games, I know Final Fantasy has instance player housing, to a certain extent at least, and I know that Virtueverse, which is that up-and-coming game that I did some videos on and will continue to do so as the backer playthroughs and the EAs come out, early access run-throughs come out. You know, there's a certain amount of sense in having the that housing instance, but they started with it not being instanced, which means whenever you have instanced housing, that pretty much means the only way you can get in is to be in a party with the person who owns it, and that means that dropping it on your friends is now going to be impossible. And it also very deliberately eliminates the trap camp, which I think is very unfortunate. Probably should have taken her out with the handmaid. I do. I think it's very unfortunate. I think it's a very short-sighted thing for Bethesda to do. Because there are other ways to handle the complaints of players who don't want the PvP aspects. And there are several things they could have done. That would have been, in my opinion, far better and even possibly more simple than taking away all the fun of those players who like to play the bad guys. Oh, hi. So, let's take this for a moment and think about what options they could have had. No. First option's really simple. Have PvP servers. Not that hard. You know, and on those PvP servers, it could be all PvP all the time. You know, they had pacifist mode. That worked. Just stay out of the PvP zones. Not that hard, guys. And if you don't want traps to affect you, don't go into other people's camps. You know, people get upset because they go into trap camps and the trap camp kills them and they drop all their junk, which is then taken by the player whose trap camp they were trespassing in. Yes, that's the way it works. In real life, if you trespass in someone's house, depending on what jurisdiction you're in, they have the right to take action. For these trap camp players, they've decided they don't want uninvited guests in their camps. Or alternatively, they've decided that you're more than welcome to go in there, but you're going to be leaving without your junk. And just because you don't like playing that way doesn't mean other people don't like to play that way. This is one of those welcome to real life moments. And I know I ranted about this in my first episode, but it just appears like the longer I see these things, the more often it looks like the squeaky wheel always gets the grease, and it always flows in one direction. You know, and don't get me wrong, I like PvE. I know that there are a lot of PvPer friends that I have, people like Lorespade, people like Rincewind, who don't really like the PvE scene. It's not their thing. There's no problem with that. There is nothing wrong with that. They come to this game to do one type of thing. I come to this game to do different types of things. I do PvP. I put videos of me doing PvP, actually with those heretofore mentioned persons. But the fact of the matter is you can't be, you can't sacrifice every demographic of the game. Why do you think I'm pretty sure that a lot of the people who liked this game stopped playing because the thing they liked about the game disappeared. PvP has been nerfed to high heaven. And it's not even a huge community, but those who do play really enjoy it. And this is the best type of platform to do it on, because there's so much that you can do along with it. And then there are those people who would say, well, why not just play Nuclear Winter? No, we want a PvP. We don't want to play PUBG. No, there is a difference. If we wanted to play PUBG, we go play PUBG. We're not here to play PUBG. We're here to play an open world game where we can be the bad guys and just have some fun. And you know what? If any PvPer, or no, I can't say any PvPer, a large number of the PvPers, you go a few rounds with them, and that's all they want. You know, they get the one round, and if you come back and you don't seek revenge, then to them, it's GG. It's that simple. It's like, okay, yeah, I shot you. I got your junk if you were carrying it. GG. You know, stash your junk. Oh, that's a cool playground. There used to be one of these near my house. So yeah, it's all of this tailoring to a certain demographic to the detriment of the other demographic or demographics, I think is going to end up biting Bethesda in the tail end. I really do. And we're going to get into a few other things that are or have happened here in just one moment. But first, do you have Fallout first? Have you not spent the pittance that it takes to get the wonderful benefits that Bethesda is offering you for less than the cost of a WoW subscription? With Fallout First, you get that tent. Not this specific tent per se, but a survival tent that you can place anywhere in the world without having to rebuild your camp from scratch. It is probably the best thing since sliced bread. You also get access to this, the scrap box, which has unlimited storage for junk, which means you don't have to store your junk in your normal stash. And that means that you're not taking up weight space in your normal stash with junk. They still haven't made it so you can sell ammo off, which is very unfortunate, because I'm pretty sure that's what's taking up the majority of my weight. I'll probably give all my 10mm to Lorespade so we can use that build again. But weapons. Lost my train of thought. But with Fallout First, your experience in the Wasteland can be much more fulfilling. Bethesda has offered us a wonderful platform with which to explore and have fun. It really isn't that much of a stretch to kick them a little bit in return for the added benefits they give you. They also give you 1,600 or more atoms every month so that you can just go hog wild in the Atom store. And it's only $12.99 a month or $100 a year. Like, it's tax time, people. Take just a tiny bit of that if you're playing this game. Kick it to Bethesda so they can afford to try to, debug it a little bit better. Fallout first. Stash your junk. Okay, so there was another reason that I said Bethesda might be the biggest bug in the game. And I know, I just told you to throw money at them, which is kind of contradictory, but that actually makes a certain amount of sense. Because if they have the resources to put more into this, which is hard to do in a free-to-play game, then maybe they'll be able to dedicate more time to fixing all of the bugs. I talked about the world fall-through bug. I talked about the duplication bug. There was another bug which actually affected me quite heavily. I ended up having to rebuild my whole camp because of it. There was a bug that was consistent where no matter where your camp was located, it would insist that they couldn't place your camp. I had a day where I just got fed up and had to go without my camp because I cycled through, I'm pretty sure, every server that was active at the time, and none of them would let me place my camp. But they fixed it rather quickly and patched it out. That was a critical problem. And when it comes to critical problems, Bethesda is actually really good at fixing them. And so they got right on that. They fixed it. It's all better. Doesn't mean it didn't happen. Doesn't mean that it's not vexing. And it doesn't mean that Bethesda doesn't deserve some criticism for it happening. But it does show that, you know, the money that we put into this by doing things like Fallout first is being well spent. That looked like it was a cracked egg. I wonder if it's no good. Another bug that came up was the fall through the world. Oh, there was an accidental ban wave. For whatever reason, something got messed up in Bethesda's authentication, and it wasn't a deliberate, like, you're banned ban wave. It was something happened, a bug came up, which had the effect of banning a whole bunch of players that had not done anything wrong. Apparently, there's a problem with their authentication system, from what I understand. But because of that, a whole bunch of players, including, I think, Nuka-Cola Riley, I'm pretty sure she was also affected by this, couldn't log on for like an hour. And they all thought they were banned. And for those players who play Raiders, they were like, you know, we're all like, you know, we were legit playing. You did not give us any sort of warning saying this wasn't permitted. It's been permitted all this time. Are we going to get just tossed because there's a bunch of people who don't like raiding or, you know, people playing the bad guys? Turned out that wasn't the case. Despite all of the nerfs that they are doing to Raider players, of which there are many, this is not one of the things that they were nerfing. It happened to be that there was some sort of a bug. Again, doesn't mean that they don't deserve criticism for it, but this is not one of the things that is over the top. And to my understanding, it has been 100% corrected. So, you know, credit where it's due, criticism where it's due. In this case, Bethesda deserves the credit for jumping on it and having it fixed within a day. So that brings me to my final rant of the day, which is we got to do something about the way Raider players are being treated. Like, seriously. We are not... And I see all kinds of Salt and other content creators' feeds. People just... They're getting nasty for no reason. It's like, we're playing a game. We're playing a legit role in the game. If you lost your junk, we understand why you're salty. To a certain extent, we enjoy it. And as long as, you know, as long as there is a limit to it, it's all good. But at the same time, I'm seeing people go into comment sections and, like, super, super toxic. It's like, you're not helping your position if you're just going to sit there and be the most toxic person in Fallout 76. It doesn't help you. Because all it says is that you're an entitled prat. That's literally all that does. You know, just because you don't like Raider players, that's fine. You don't necessarily have to like us. We get it. We shoot you. We take your stuff. You get a little salty. You know, I've been shot down by pirates in Entropia. I do get it. This is a little different. Real money's not involved here. You can always farm that stuff again. Yeah, it's a little bit of wasted time, but... You know, it's just... Oh, great, I got a clown outfit. I'll have to find Clown Daddy. You have to... You can't come out and justify yourself as being a better person by going into the comments section of a player who's doing legit PvP and just being nasty to them. That's not being an adult. That's probably the most childish thing you can possibly do. So, really, look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, if the world were to end tomorrow, would this matter? Well, I guess if the world were to end tomorrow, nothing would matter. In the long run, does this actually matter? Like, seriously. In the long run, does this actually matter? If the answer is no, then maybe you should, you know, bring the salt when you personally get shot. And other than that, just, you know, bugger off. Because it's childish. You know, overall, at the end of the game, at the end of the day, this is nothing but a game. It's an awesome game. We all enjoy the game. But it's a game. We are here to play a game. We're here to have fun. We all have different types of fun. We try to have fun with each other, which is why it's a multiplayer game. And sometimes we find out, often after the fact, that's not the type of fun that you were into. Okay, fine. GG, move on. It's that simple. That's all it takes. It's like arguing with people on social media. You have two choices. You can look at whatever it is you disagree with, and you can start getting into a salty fight and decide that you need to defend the point, no matter what the point is. You know, I don't know, that the sky is actually green rather than blue or some stupid thing like that. And you can spend your time doing that, or you can just scroll on by. And yeah, it's a little bit different when you lose, you know, maybe an hour's worth of work because they took your junk. But again, it's not that difficult. Drop a tent. First off, most of the game is not PvP. It's not. It's real simple. Avoid workshops. Like me, I'm standing in a workshop. I'm aware I'm in a workshop. I'm also playing on a private server, another benefit offered to you by Fallout First. Because of this, the chances of me running into another player are very, very small. And if I do run into another player, it's going to be one of my friends. Now, as it happens, every single one of the members of my friends list happen to be raiders. So I do need to be careful even on a private server, because if I'm doing food-build things, I might just get caught by one of my friends on my own server. Now, generally speaking, we don't invade private servers just for the sake of taking people's junk. But I wouldn't put it past my friends. No, we save that for public servers. That's where the fun is to be had.
Yeah, now that people have come back to this area, they'll all want to be setting up places like Foundation.
That's great. I have no clue where Foundation supposedly is. Why were they weighing bones? They're oh my god. I don't have my cannibalism perk equipped for this. So realistically, that's the long and the short of it, guys. No. There are some things we can accept, and there are some things that we just have to deal with. And for instance, we can accept that Bethesda makes flawed games. That doesn't mean they're not worthwhile. That doesn't mean they're not good. But they are flawed. Two things can be true at the same time. Bethesda makes flawed games, but they're also a really good games company. They just happen to not be giving very good balance for PvP. Unfortunate, but true. It doesn't make Bethesda evil, it just means that they are listening to who they think are the majority. And it may not even be the majority. Oftentimes, the biggest complainers are not the majority, they're just the loud minority. That's the way things happen in real life too. People think they're the majority because all they hear are their own people. And as it happens, it's just because they're loud. Oh, cool. Okay, so we are going to head back. And there's only one thing I can conclude from this, is that we're all trying to enjoy the game together. We all have different things that we like to do. Just keep in mind, and this goes for PvPers as much as PvEers, not everyone is going to want to play the same way you do. We all have areas in this game that tailor and cater to the things we like to do. We can't get upset when we leave those areas and we're expected to tailor ourselves to the rules of the area that we're in. Okay, guys, that's all I got. Make sure you drop a like, and if you could please share. That's the most powerful thing you can do for this. I'm building this Raider podcast. I don't know where it's going to go, but I'm really enjoying myself so far. I think the new format really works. And we'll see you next time. The Julien McBain Show is a McBain Manor production. We are the fastest growing Raider podcast in the Wasteland.